My name is Megan, and I am an alcoholic. It is great to be in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. My sobriety date is March 11th of 2017, and I have a sponsor. Her name is Carla. She has a sponsor. Her name is Pamela, and she has a sponsor, and her name is Sharon. And I am in direct contact with those women at least once a week. And I am so grateful to be here. It is truly a pleasure to be in a meeting where there are so many new people. It's been a really long time since I shared and had this many newcomers there. There were a handful of people in the chat that identified they have like a week or less than 30 days. And so this is for you. I was gonna see how many new people were here and then kind of pick what to really share about. Let me set a timer for myself because I do love to talk about myself. I tell you what, I'll just go on and on. So I'll start at the very beginning. My first drink of alcohol was when I was 6 months old. True story. I was born up in wine country in Santa Rosa, California. And my mom used to carry me around in one of those like snuggies, where the baby would face outward. I was born with total hip dysplasia. So my feet were completely like in this way. And back then they treated that with putting you in a full body cast. So for the first 9 months of my life, I was in like a full body cast. So my mom used to carry me around like that. And she says that she took me out wine tasting. And she says I kept reaching for the glass at 6 months old. So she said in her words, I'm going to fix her wagon and I'm going to give her a drink of the wine so she won't like it and she'll stop reaching for the glass. So apparently she held the glass to my lips and I took a sip and I sputtered. She says, and then I went like this and I made a face and I reached for the glass and I poured it all over myself. And pretty interesting about what was to come in the future for me, right? And I always joke that to this day, my mom still blames herself for my alcoholism and I still let her. So, yeah. But I had a, pretty normal childhood. I was a latchkey kid, if any of you guys know what that means. I grew up where both of my parents worked. And so my sister and I would come home, we had keys to the house, and we had several hours to ourselves. And I was very athletic. I was swimming really, really young, and I continued swimming all through my life. I still swim to this day. I went on a full ride scholarship to the University of Utah. Shout out, there's someone from Utah on here. I saw, hi. I was a Ute. So, and I did well through school. I did well in college, and I had a pretty normal, like young adulthood. I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter, Samantha, when I was 19. I had her and got married really young. That first marriage didn't work out. So I got married. I was then married for 15 years and I had my son, Bryce, had a pretty like normal, upbringing. And the wheels didn't really start to come off until I got a divorce. And then I pretty much jumped in a bottle of vodka and refused to come out. I really believe that I drank and used substances for fun initially, but it was my solution. And it was fun until it wasn't. And I started to experience all of the stuff that we hear about. I started to black out. I started to like lose days at a time. I started to have the shakes in the morning. I started to hide things, hide the alcohol. And I realized I needed some help. And I had an experience with a 12-step meeting really young, like in high school. There was a psychology class where the teacher assigned us to go to a meeting. And so I, at that time, had an experience with the program and I really liked it. I really had a feeling like this is a place where I can come and I can breathe and I belong. And there's a sense of acceptance to these meetings that I had never really experienced. And to this day, I don't know another organization in the world where I can go in to a room of complete strangers and just feel at home and feel welcome and know that you guys know you are my people. So if you're new and if you're in, your first relatively new 30, 60, 90 days, and you feel like you're lost and that you don't belong and that maybe there's no hope or that you can't ever get your life back, I'm here to tell you that there is hope and there is a solution. And it is found here. This is the only place that I was able to find relief for my brain that would not shut up, my heart and soul, where at the end I felt like I was walking around with like a cannonball that had been punched through my heart and my soul. And I suffered from that grief and that remorse almost daily. And I knew that at the end, for me, there was no other way for me to continue to stay alive. And so I literally, it's not an exaggeration to tell you guys that my life depends on this program. And I work it like that. And I still work it like that, 4 years and 4 months later. So it took me about 8 years of relapsing. I was, like the book says, I was pretty badly mangled before I really decided to give it a shot. I started going to meetings and I could get 30 days, I could get 60 days, but I couldn't stay sober. And I don't know what the secret sauce is that worked this time, except to understand that it became a choice of just, I'm going to live or I'm going to die. So I actually did die twice from alcohol poisoning. I had a group of friends that wouldn't give up on me, fortunately, and they found me dead in my house twice, complete dead. Like, I go to a meeting where one of the guys who found me goes, pretty regularly, and I always see him, and I'm like, "Hey, Mike, thanks for saving my life, dude." He's like, "Anytime, you got it." Yeah, and one time I walked into the ER for something. It was not a tragic incident. I was sober, and this ER doctor walked into the room and he saw me and he was like, "You, you don't remember me, but you need to stop drinking." And I'm like, "Sir, I'm sober." So, yeah, I realized that I couldn't drink. And so I was about 6 months sober when I tore my ACL. And I mentioned this, I'm going to try to glaze over it a little bit out of respect for Alcoholics Anonymous, but I started taking pain pills as a result of having that surgery, and the pain pill problem got really, really bad. And that turned into an opiate addiction, that turned into heroin, that turned into meth, cocaine, you name it. I loved it. And it became a point for me where 100% of the time, like without fail, 100% of the time that I put a substance into my body, I would come to and I would be in jail or I would be in the hospital 100% of the time. I ended up with a pretty colorful criminal record, bunch of felonies, and my career was over. There was no way that I was ever going to work the field that I worked in before. And I had lost everything. I reached a point where I was essentially homeless. I didn't have a car. I was totally unemployable. And I had no personal relationships. My family wanted nothing to do with me. And it was just a matter of waking up, finding something to steal so that I could list it online and sell it, so that I could get money, so that I could pick up, so that I could get a hotel room, so I could feed my dog, feed myself, and wake up the next day and do it all over again. And it was 3 years of that. And it was not living. It wasn't living. And I can sit here today and tell you people that, you know what, there is a plan and there's a purpose for my life. And I'm here because my higher power wants me to be here. And it really has turned into a life today that is not perfect by any means, but it certainly is amazing. And it's as a result of my finally being ready to surrender and take direction. And, you know, if you're new or you're a retread, you're going to hear the same stuff likely over and over again. You're going to hear, go to meetings, get a sponsor, work the steps. Go to meetings, get a sponsor, work the steps. And truly it is easy in that regard. It is, but it takes a lot of, for me, letting go and surrendering to a higher power. And what we are promised in this book is to have a spiritual experience that will solve all of our problems. And, you know, the main purpose of this book and of the program and everything is to introduce you to a higher power that that will change your life, that will be your solution. And I came to realize through a lot of really messed up situations that would happen even in sobriety, that what I thought when I originally got here, which was if I could just learn how to stop drinking, I'd be good. You know, if I could just learn to, I mean, obviously, if you told me that drugs, my drug addiction was the reason why I was homeless and in a Motel 6 with my dog, I probably would not have believed you at that time. But surely I used those things to cover up what was going on in here and cover up what was going on here. And today I can tell you that as a result of just being willing to, like, you know, let go and let God, and being willing to, like, uncover, discover, discard constantly, that really amazing things have been able to happen. And one of the most beautiful things that I get to do today is work with other women and see their lives transform and see the light come on. And they say that at a certain point in your sobriety, you stop going to meetings for yourself and you start going for other people. And really, that's true. You know, today I get to be a service at a lot of different meetings. And that's like the highlight, you know, at the beginning, it's what got me there. Oh, I got to bring the cookies. If I don't show up and bring the cookies, like, what are they going to eat? And so sometimes it's the little commitments that we take in those acts of service that can get us there to where we need to be to hear the thing that we needed to hear at that time. You know, but it was really difficult for my family. Like today I'm reconciled with my parents. My son, who I didn't see for 3 years in his junior high and high school years, he's sitting in the next room. He loves his mom. He and I have a great relationship today. My daughter is still out there. She's an active addict. And it's really hard to, witness, because I see her and the significance never wears off, that I was once in that place, and my whole family was looking at me just, why can't she stop? You know, why can't she stop? And that's the baffling feature of this disease. It's the utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great or the necessity or the wish. And the only thing that turns that around is by having a spiritual experience and getting to know a power that's greater than yourself, that can solve all of your problems. And that solution is found in the book, and it's found by working the steps and finding someone that you can really trust. And for me, it's about letting go. And I think John mentioned to me that it could be just my share, it could be kind of topic oriented. And I'd like to throw out a topic to the group of letting go. I'm reading a book, like a 12-step daily meditation book right now, that focuses on one of my biggest problems that I deal with, which is codependency. And I do realize, like, now today, that that's at the heart of a lot of my problems. You know, I became a mom when I was really young. I was 20, and then I had another child at 24, and then I was in, you know, a marriage. And when all that got stripped and taken away from me, I realized I had no idea who I was. I had no idea who Megan was. I had no clue what I wanted to eat for dinner, You know, if I needed to show up and take care of you, that was great. But when it was just me, I had no idea what to do and I really fell apart. And so um, it's what I'm reading in this meditation book is a lot of detachment and a lot of like, I show up and I do the action and I do what I think God wants me to do on a daily basis, and I leave the results up to Him. And how much, so much is outside of my control, you know? I've lost jobs in sobriety that I thought I would have forever. I embarked on a new career path 6 months ago. If you would have told me 4 years ago I would be like a mortgage originator, I would have just laughed at you. The idea would have been batshit. But today, yeah, I'm just willing to show up, you know, suit up, show up, do what I think that God wants me to do on a daily basis and leave the results up to Him. And when I do that, things are pretty extraordinary. So that's when I can detach, like with a sense of peace, and I can lay my head down on the pillow today and know that if I do some simple basic things, read some pages in the morning, say a prayer, call my sponsor, talk to the women that I sponsor, go to a meeting, do a nightly inventory, somewhere in between all that, I get to go to work, you know, make my bed. Life happens and it's pretty extraordinary. So thank you so much for letting me be of service, and thank you for my sobriety.